Hello everyone, and welcome to my first story time in 4 months. Did not realize it had been that long. Figured it was definitely time for another story. However, I was having some trouble figuring out which one I wanted to tell. I had 2 stories that I was trying to pick between. So I decided to ask the Patreon fam what they would prefer to see. Unlike me, everybody over on Patreon was not indecisive about this in the least. Everyone unanimously voted for the same story. So that is a story that we are going to be telling today. Yes. So today we're going to be starting off with a story from my most recent convention. Just a quick announcement before we jump into that. This is the final week to grab stuff from my current merch line, which is the World Cosplay League line. It will only be available until the 22nd. So if you are interested in grabbing a hoodie, a jersey, whatever, make sure to do that before the 22nd. Pretty self-explanatory, but just wanted to set a little reminder out there and want to thank you guys all so much for the awesome support. I was really stoked about this line, really proud of the design and really proud of kind of like the concept behind it, and I think it's really cool to know that a bunch of us all over the world are all going to be wearing these jerseys. It's just a cool thing to think about. So anyway, thank you guys so much for all of your support. Thank you to everyone who has ordered one. If you guys are interested in grabbing one, if you haven't already, the link is bonfire.com/store/AnyaPanda, and I will also have that linked down in the description. All right, so now let's actually jump into the story. So this is the time that my friends and I embarrassed ourselves in front of a very famous cosplayer. Some of you may watch this, some of you may be like, that doesn't seem that embarrassing, but trust me, in the moment, and looking back, my friends and I were very embarrassed. Maybe telling the story now, it may not seem that embarrassing, but trust me, this was a mortifying discovery back when it happened, so that's why I'm sharing this story. So this happened on the Saturday of Calgary Expo, and the thing about Saturday was that all of my friends and I were on the exact same wavelength, and that's to say that we were all completely dead, 100%. Regardless of how much sleep we got, we were all just out of it, wasn't feeling the con that much, which is sad because it was on the Saturday and that's like the biggest day. The other days of the convention were fantastic, but for some reason, we were just all like completely dead. The friend who we were staying with, she got to sleep early. The rest of us got to sleep later, because I had to finish my cosplay and my friends were very nice and helped me. Don't do that. Don't con crunch. This is what I learned. I don't usually con crunch. This was my first time con crunching in like maybe 2 or 3 years, honestly. Don't do it. It's not worth it. First moral of the story. But anyway, we got to sleep quite a bit later, even though we were up late. Like, we still slept in the next morning. We didn't have to get up early, so like it was okay for us to stay up that late because we were gonna like get a good number of hours, and like I'm used to that. And I've had many conventions where I've had that same like sleep schedule and I've been totally fine for the convention the next day. So we should have been okay. I mean, we would have been tired, but we shouldn't have been as out of it as we ended up being. For some reason, we were all just like the most dead we have ever been during convention. We were more so like flesh vessels than people. Like there was nothing happening whatsoever. So we get to the convention. We're cosplaying swap versions of various Disney characters. So my one friend was Rapunzel in Flynn's outfit, my other friend was Tiana in Naveen's outfit, and I, naturally, was Meg in Hercules' outfit. We decided that we want to take some quick photos before we go. We're kind of like forcing ourselves to get photos because, you know, we want some proof that this happened. We're up in this hallway upstairs in the convention. This was like a little bit of a pause from taking photos. We're just kind of like talking. So we're standing there, and from the end of the hallway, there's this Trunks cosplayer walking towards us. And as he's walking by us, he walks like right up to my friend who's cosplaying Rapunzel and just kind of like stares at her and does like this. And just kind of like, you know, this like smile expression. Doesn't say anything, no context. And we're all just like, what's happening? We don't understand. And we don't really know what to say because we're all very confused. And again, like completely out of it. Eventually my friend is like, I don't understand. And so he stops and he's like, oh, see, I thought that we could smolder together. And we're like, oh, but it probably came out more like, oh, like, I don't know, because we're exhausted is basically what I'm trying to say. We probably looked like brain dead, not all there weirdos during this whole interaction. He has, might I say, some of the most intense makeup I have ever seen. So like throughout this interaction, I'm just very like mesmerized by his makeup. I'm looking like, wow, that contour. But I realized like looking back, I was probably just like staring at his face, which is weird. So That's great. His makeup was just very good, and I was just very impressed by it. That's an extra little garnish that I felt like we had to add to this already very awkward interaction that we're having with this poor guy he's just trying to play along. He's just trying to engage with us. This guy's super enthusiastic. He's very nice. He's like, oh yeah, like, no problem. Love your cosplay. And then he like turns to my other friend. He's like, oh, I like your cosplay. And then he sees me and he turns to me. He's like, I really like your Hercules. This is one of my favorite movies. In the time when someone, you know, would usually just like reply, I'm having this inner conflict. So I'm like,
I'd be like, oh, thanks so much, but actually, like, I'm cosplaying, like, cosplaying Hercules, like, that's a lot to say, and it's like, it takes kind of the wind out of the compliment, and like, that's a lot to explain. It's just gonna sound like really weird and cluttered and junk, and just like, or do I just go along with it? Say thank you. Don't even worry about like explaining what your cosplay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just say thank you.
So in the end, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And he's super nice. He's like, yeah, well, like, you guys have a great day. He leaves. We continue on with, you know, our shoot and everything. In the hallway that we were shooting in, it's on the top floor of the convention center, and on one side it's a wall, and on the other side it's all glass. So you can look down into the exhibition hall where they have all the guests' booth. And so where we were staying, we actually happened to be right over top of all of the cosplay guest booths. I eventually looked down while my friends were like talking and taking photos amongst themselves, and I see the guy like in this aisle. He doesn't seem to be in front of like any specific booth, so I'm like, oh, like maybe he's friends with the cosplay guests, but he's not actually a cosplay guest. Like, 2 and 2 were not put together during any of this whatsoever. So I'm looking down there and I'm watching him like pose. Like, people are coming up and asking for photos, and he would like do these cool like fighting moves and then just like get into the pose. Like, he was so energetic and so into it. I'm like, wow, like he's really into it, and like his makeup is great, his cosplay great. Like, that's awesome. It's really cool. It was great. It was great. It's just funny when you learn who it is. So we get to the end of the day. We're all, you know, dead on arrival, just absolutely exhausted. I walked through snow in sandals for the first and hopefully last time. Not fun. Don't recommend it. Solid, probably 0 out of 5 on that one. We get home and I'm looking through my Instagram stories, and eventually I get to photos from the con that Banana Cosboys had posted. They were guests at the con. They're super awesome. Go check them out if you haven't already. I'm looking through their posts from the con. I'm like, cool, cool, neat, awesome. I come across a selfie that they've posted, and guess who's in the selfie? It's the guy that we met. It's the Trunks cosplayer. Next to everybody who's in this selfie, they all had their handles tagged, including that man. Turns out this man was Leon Shiro. The man, the myth, the legend. And I just died. I can feel my heart sink into my stomach, and I am just mortified. For extra context, he did a Hercules cosplay recently, and it is one of my favorites ever. It is amazing. He posted a photo, his first photo of that cosplay, and it was a photo of him with his Meg, who also looked amazing, and it's just a really great photo and like hit me right in the feels. And so many people, friends, followers, so many people on separate occasions have sent me that photo, and I've just died every time because it's amazing. And I'm like, wow, like that is such a good cosplay. Like, I am a major fangirl, like, specifically like of that cosplay, because it's like really flipping good and like really canon looking, and just like he did a great job. Super awesome. So not only, you know, were we like really, like, we probably came across as brain dead idiots in front of this very famous cosplayer who has this cosplay that like I'm a really big fan. Like, obviously, like I'm a fan of like a lot of his cosplays, so like that one in particular is like, while I was cosplaying friggin' Megara dressed as Hercules, like friggin' like it's just like the perfect storm of just stuff. I don't know. So I see this, I freeze, and I turn to my friends and I'm like, guys, remember that guy who came up to us today? We weren't like too weird in front of him, right? Like, I know that we were out of it and we didn't catch on to like him doing the smolder, but like we weren't that weird, right? And they're like, yeah. I mean, yeah, like we were all like super out of it and like really not all there and like really slow on the uptake. But like, you know, we were nice and everything, and like I don't think we came off as like too weird. And I'm like, okay, you sure? I know that a lot of you are probably watching and like, that's not that embarrassing, but trust me, it was to me. But on the flip side, he complimented my cosplay, which friggin', and like, you know, he was very genuine when he was talking to all of us. He complimented our cosplays, and you could tell like he really meant it. He was very nice. There are two very important morals of this story. I would say there are three morals to this story, and one of them would be sleep early at cons. No one's ever gonna do that, so we're gonna throw that one out the window. We're just gonna not worry about that. First thing is, don't con crunch, please. Don't do that. I mean, that kind of ties into like the sleeping at conventions part. But regardless, don't con crunch for conventions. It's never worth it. Like, unless you're being paid to do the cosplay and like you have to get it done for that convention, just don't do that. It's never worth it. Second one, Leon Shiro is an incredibly cool guy. Incredibly nice. Like, this is probably the biggest takeaway from this story. Aside from try not to be a walking flesh vest. So like cons so that you like don't make an idiot out of yourself and don't come across as a brain dead idiot. Leon Shiro is a super chill guy. Like, I knew that he was a guest, and like I wanted to go to his booth and say hi, but I was very nervous. I felt very like, I don't know, because like he's a big deal and I'm a potato. I felt shy. I felt too shy to go and say hello. He is an incredibly nice person, incredibly chill person. You can tell that he does what he does just like for the sheer passion for the series that he cosplays from and from like cosplays himself. Just watching him on the convention floor, striking his poses, like he was so enthusiastic and just like so 100% into it. And he was like super nice and super down to earth. Like, he came up and started interacting with us just because he liked what we were cosplaying from. There was no elitism whatsoever. Like, it was just genuinely for this, you know, shared passion for fictional media. And that is awesome. And it's just so cool knowing that. So if you ever see Leon Shiro at a convention, he is a super cool guy, super nice. Don't ever feel nervous going up to him. He's like super fun, super down to earth, like super cool, chill guy, which, you know what, is a very good moral to take away from this story. So if I ever see him at a convention again, I will say hello, and I will not bring up the fact that I was that very tired person that he saw at Calgary Expo. Probably won't bring that up. Thank you guys for joining me on this story time. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If this kind of thing has ever happened to you, please by all means let me know. I cannot be the only one who has like unintentionally just been super awkward and like embarrassed themselves in front of a famous cosplayer. I can't be alone on that. I cannot be alone on that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. As always, I super appreciate it. I will see you guys all next time. But until then, pan faces, please be sure to take care. Enough sleep at conventions. Tell Leon Shiro that he's awesome. If you ever see him, he's a super cool guy. And try not to be awkward. Even if you're tired, you know, just do your best not to be too awkward in front of people, because that's a thing. I don't know. Anyway, bye.